Farming Transformation Fund, Slurry Infrastructure Grant, how to make a full application. Hello, welcome to this video for applicants to the Farming Transformation Fund Slurry Infrastructure Grant. This is for applicants who have completed the online checker and have been invited to submit a full application. We will talk you through the application stages, tell you what information you need to include in your application, and give you extra help and tips. Slurry Infrastructure Grant Overview. What is the Slurry Infrastructure Grant? It is a capital grant to help eligible farmers replace, build new, or expand existing slurry stores to provide 6 months storage capacity based on existing livestock numbers. This will help you to make better use of organic nutrients, improve water quality, improve air quality, reduce the contribution to greenhouse gases. Who can apply? The grant is available to pig, beef and dairy farmers in England that are already using a farming system that produces slurry. Both landowners and tenant farmers can apply. How much can I claim for? The minimum grant you can claim for is £25,000 and the maximum is £250,000. There has been a change to the way in which grant amounts will be calculated for the Slurry Infrastructure Grant. Grant amounts will be based on the standard cost contribution, or 50% of the actual invoice costs at claim stage, whichever is the lower amount. Grants will still be capped at £250,000 and you must apply for a grant of at least £25,000. What can I apply for? You can choose from different types of slurry stores, store covers and store accessories. For example, a reception pit or an electric-powered slurry transfer pump. Details of what you can apply for can be found in the About the Slurry Infrastructure Grant, Who can apply and what it can pay for guidance. Routes to 6 months storage. You must use the grant to reach at least 6 months storage based on existing livestock numbers. Existing livestock numbers means the typical number of animals you kept on the farm over the last year. You can do this by choosing to replace existing stores that are no longer fit for purpose with a new store. That is, they have reached the end of their design life and could be susceptible to leaks and failure. Add additional storage if other stores that will stay part of your system meet slurry storage regulations, were built to relevant standards and remain fit for purpose, for example, no leaks or failures. Expand otherwise compliant storage, for example, by adding another ring to a suitable steel tank. The existing store must be structurally suitable for expanding and covering and will meet the specifications, including current regulations and build standards when complete. You are not eligible for this grant if you already have 6 months of slurry storage that is fit for purpose. You can choose to go beyond 6 months storage, but must self-fund any storage above 6 months. Important information. Make sure you have sufficient time to complete everything you need to before making your full application, including gathering any supporting information you need to send. You will need to provide details about your project so it can be assessed to ensure it meets regulatory requirements and allows at least 6 months storage capacity. Therefore, before submitting your full application, you should complete and email the Slurry Store Location and Design Assessment Form and any relevant supporting information as soon as you can, so that the assessment of your project can be carried out before you submit the full application. We go into more detail about the assessment later in this video. If the assessment passes, you can continue to prepare the full application. The deadline for submitting a full application is 11:59 p.m. on the 28th of June 2024. If your application is successful, we will send you a grant funding agreement. We aim to tell you if your application is successful or not within 60 working days of receiving it. Planning permission must be in place before you submit your full application. If not, your application will be rejected. Do not start work on your project, incur any costs, including paying deposits, enter into any legal contracts, or place any orders before a grant funding agreement has been sent to you and you have signed and returned it. This would make your application ineligible. You can undertake some activities prior to making the full application. For example, apply for planning permission, which must be in place before you submit a full application. Talk to consultants to discuss the design of the proposed store. Take soil samples to check the soil and site suitability if constructing an earth-banked lagoon without a synthetic liner. Get quotes from suppliers. Confirm with a suitably qualified chartered civil or structural engineer or a supplier that an existing store is suitable to be expanded and have a cover fitted. We are likely to visit all projects at least once, so you need to keep your records, evidence, and maintain an asset register for 5 years from the final grant payment. We'll also ask you to submit project monitoring reports. Catchment Sensitive Farming, CSF Advisors. Natural England CSF advisors are available for advice and guidance on slurry and nutrient management, which may be useful when planning your full application. They work with farmers and partners in catchments across England to improve the quality of air, water, and natural flood management. Their advice is optional and not a condition for securing the grant. Your CSF advisor is locally based with an understanding of the challenges that farmers face. They offer locally informed on-farm slurry management advice to help you improve nutrient use, reduce environmental impacts, make more confident decisions about slurry management on your farm. For more information about catchment-sensitive farming, visit our gov.uk page at www.gov.uk/guidance/catchment-sensitive farming reduce agricultural water pollution. Planning permission. The Slurry Infrastructure Grant is one step in preventing the deterioration of natural habitats and the habitats of species in protected sites. You must obtain planning permission for your project before making a full application. You may be able to get approval under permitted development rights through prior notification. Speak to your local planning authority if you are unsure. Local planning authorities, LPAs, must assess whether giving planning consent could have a significant effect on a protected site, such as special areas of conservation, special protection areas, or Ramsar sites. A Ramsar site is a wetland site designated to be of international importance. Local planning authorities must carry out an assessment of whether a project will have a significant effect on a protected site, and if so, an appropriate assessment must follow, which tests in detail the potential harm and steps to mitigate it. It can take several months to obtain planning permission, so it is important that you submit your planning application as soon as possible. You do not need to apply for planning permission before you submit your slurry store location and design assessment form, but it must be in place before you make your full application. Full application process. There are two main stages you must complete to make a full application. Complete and return the slurry store location and design assessment form, along with any required supporting evidence. Prepare and submit a full application form and the application appendix spreadsheet, along with any required supporting evidence. When we invited you to submit a full application, we sent you several documents which you will need when completing these stages. A slurry store location and design assessment form, which includes a supporting documents checklist, so you can ensure you send everything needed. Guidance on how to fill in this form can be found in the How to Fill in a Slurry Infrastructure Grant Full Application Guidance on gov.uk by searching for the Farming Transformation Fund. A full application form, which also includes a supporting documents checklist, an application appendix spreadsheet, the design declaration for slurry storage form, which you and your civil or structural engineer will need to fill in. All of these documents were attached to the email we sent to you, inviting you to make a full application. Stage 1. Slurry store location and design assessment. This section of the video provides more information on what the slurry store location and design assessment is and what you need to do. Overview. Anyone who applied for the Slurry Infrastructure Grant and is invited to make a full application needs to have their planned project assessed to ensure it meets the relevant regulations and will allow at least 6 months storage capacity. So that the assessment can be carried out, you must fill in the slurry store location and design assessment form, read and complete the declaration section, and attach any required supporting evidence as soon as possible. You should email these documents to ftf@rpa.gov.uk. Under the Water Resources, Control of Pollution, Silage, Slurry and Agricultural Fuel Oil, England, SSAFO Regulations 2010, a person who proposes to have custody or control of slurry that is to be kept in a new or improved store must give the Environment Agency notice specifying the type of storage system and its location at least 14 days before work constructing the store is to begin. If you have been invited by the RPA to submit a full application for this grant, submission of this form and supporting information is sufficient to meet these notice requirements, so there is no need to inform the Environment Agency separately. We recommend that you fill in and send the form as soon as possible after receiving your invitation to allow sufficient time for the assessment to be carried out and approved before you make your full application. We will carry out some basic checks to ensure the form is fully completed and any relevant supporting evidence has been provided. We will then share the form and supporting evidence with the Environment Agency's Slurry Infrastructure National Assurance Team, who will carry out the assessment. When filling in the form, you will need to provide information and answer questions about your business and the type of farmer you are, the size, location and type of any planned new stores, the size, location and condition of any existing stores that will form part of your 6-month storage capacity, including photos or videos, the suitability of an existing store to be expanded and have a cover fitted, the status of your planning permission for new, expanded or additional stores. Whether the slurry store, channels or reception pit are near inland fresh waters or coastal waters, including those that are seasonally dry, springs, wells or boreholes. There are regulations requiring slurry storage facilities to be at least 10 metres from inland fresh waters, coastal waters, and 50 metres from springs, wells or boreholes. Whether the store is in a groundwater source protection zone. Groundwater source protection zones are designated around significant public water abstraction points. The risks to these groundwater supplies are increased if large quantities of slurry are stored. Slurry stores in SPZs may require additional safeguards to protect the public water supply from contamination. Existing drainage and yard areas. This information is needed to help calculate the amount of slurry your yard area contributes to your total slurry production. Any rain falling on uncovered yard areas that the animals have access to must be collected and stored as slurry. Rainfall on clean areas of yard can be directed away from your slurry store. The types, ages, and numbers of your animals. This information is used to calculate the total amount of excreta from the stock that you keep. You will also need to provide any relevant supporting information, including annotated location maps of all existing and proposed structures. For example, slurry store, areas that drain to the slurry store, reception pits, roofed buildings, yard areas, silage clamps, springs, wells, or boreholes. They should be annotated with unique names and identifiers for each structure. Annotated farmyard maps, including drainage and dirty yard areas. They should be annotated with unique names or identifiers for each slurry store, dimensions, purpose of any buildings, yard areas or structures, surface types, areas where livestock have access. More information about what you should annotate on the maps can be found in the How to Fill in a Slurry Infrastructure Grant Full Application guidance on gov.uk. Photos or videos of any existing slurry storage systems and reception pits. These should cover the entire storage system, including reception pits and channels, from all angles, and show clear images of all sides, corners, joins, and surfaces. You must reference each photo with the store name or identifier as used on any location or farmyard maps and the Slurry Wizard, the date the photo video was taken, and a short description of what it shows, for example, load-bearing walls, sidewalls, etc. A copy of your storage capacity calculation from the Slurry Wizard. You should save and send the Excel output file that is produced once you have completed the Slurry Wizard. Soil suitability for earth-banked lagoons or earthworks bund associated with large volume slurry bags. If you intend to build an earth-banked lagoon without a synthetic liner, then you must provide soil analysis to prove the soil is suitable and able to achieve the required permeability. For large volume slurry bags, you will need to provide details of the intended supporting earthworks or bund. If you have multiple existing stores and/or will have multiple future stores, you can provide details of these in the annexes at the back of the form. You can provide details of up to 3 additional stores of each type. If you have or will have more than 4 store types in total, please contact us and we can advise you how to provide this information. Location and farmyard maps. We are now going to show some good examples of site plans which are clearly annotated with all the required information. The first plan shows proposed new infrastructure placement and measurements, and this second one has all the features of the farmyard clearly labelled. This example shows the direction of flow and destination of slurry and an indication of where the roof water ends up. This final example shows the dirty yard area going to store and clean yard area not going to store, as well as which roof water goes to store. It is important to indicate if the roof water goes to the slurry store or not. Any photos you submit need to cover the entire storage system, including reception pits, from all angles and show clear images of all sides, corners, joins, and surfaces. You must reference each photo with the store name or identifier as used on any location or farmyard maps and the Slurry Wizard, and the date the photo or video was taken, and a short description of what it shows, for example, load-bearing walls, sidewalls, etc. If you prefer, You can submit videos of your existing slurry storage system instead of photos. We can only accept videos up to 20 megabytes in size, so you may need to record more than one video to ensure the size limit is not exceeded. You may need to send any photos or videos on several emails, because we can only accept emails up to 32 megabytes in size. If you need to do this, you should make it clear in the email title. For example, My Slurry Store Video 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and 3 of 3. Photos or videos must be sent as actual attachments to an email and not links to a data sharing site. We're now going to show you a couple of examples of suitable photos of existing slurry stores annotated with all the information required. Example slurry store photo 1. This photo is clearly marked as photo 1 with a suitable name or identifier, Weeping Wall Store 1. It includes the date the photo was taken and a description of what the photo shows. That is, this photo shows the side of our current Weeping Wall store, which is frequently prone to overtopping while the cows are still housed. Our slurry storage capabilities on farm are limited, hence the reason for applying for a new slurry storage system to enable 6 months storage capability. Example slurry store photo 2. This second photo is again clearly marked as photo 2 with the name or identifier and date taken, and includes the description. This photo shows the slurry reception pit we currently use on farm. This will need to be replaced with a new reception pit as part of the project. The reception pit needs replacing as it was built when we milked 120 cows and we now milk 240 cows, so it needs pumping more often. It was also built 30 years ago, so it has exceeded its planned working lifespan and is therefore no longer fit for purpose. Slurry Wizard storage capacity. The Agriculture and Horticultural Development Board AHDB Slurry Wizard is an Excel spreadsheet tool that you should use to calculate the cumulative volume of slurry that your farm produces, calculate your current slurry storage capacity, and calculate the additional slurry storage capacity you need to achieve 6 months storage. You can download the Slurry Wizard at https://ahdb.org.uk/knowledge-library/slurry-wizard. You should complete it with basic information about your livestock numbers, roof and yard areas, housing periods, and the dimensions of any existing stores that will be retained as part of the 6 months storage. The Slurry Wizard automatically inputs the rainfall based on your location. If you want to use other rainfall figures, you can, but you will need to provide supporting evidence of the accuracy and validity of the values. It is very important that you provide accurate measurements because these are used to calculate your slurry production figures. The How to Use the AHDB Slurry Wizard video is available on YouTube. A Slurry Wizard user guidance is also available on AHDB's website at the above web address. The video is 54 minutes long, and much of the content is not relevant for the Slurry Infrastructure Grant. However, the How to Fill in a Slurry Infrastructure Grant Full Application guidance on gov.uk contains information on how to complete the Slurry Wizard for Slurry Infrastructure Grant applications. You can work out your required 6 months storage capacity from the Slurry Wizard by looking at the Slurry Report tab on Slurry Wizard Output. You will need to look at your cumulative slurry production figures over your chosen 6 months. You can build more storage than this, but it would not be eligible for grant funding. The image below shows that the cumulative production over the housing period, start of September to end of February, equals 3,355 cubic meters. Assessment decision. Once the Environment Agency has concluded their assessment, they will inform RPA of the outcome, and RPA will then notify you. Should there be an issue with your existing slurry store, your slurry production figures, the appropriateness of the choice of proposed store type, or the design and location of your proposed store, then RPA will inform you. For easy-to-make changes, you may continue with your full application, but a project-specific condition would be added to the grant funding agreement if offered. You would need to resolve the issue before RPA would pay the grant. For significant changes, you would be required to submit a new slurry store location and design assessment form and supporting evidence to reflect the changes made, so that the Environment Agency could carry out an assessment of your updated proposals. You would only be allowed to have your proposal reassessed once in each application window. So if the assessment was unsuccessful a second time, we would withdraw your invitation to submit a full application. For more substantial changes to the scope and scale of the application, your invitation to submit a full application will be withdrawn for this round, but you would be able to apply in future rounds. Stage 2. Prepare and submit full application. This section of the video provides more information on what you need to do to submit your full application and provides some hints and tips on how to complete the application form and Appendix spreadsheet. Making a full application. Once RPA has confirmed your project has passed the location and design check, you can complete and submit your full application. Before you can submit a full application, you must be registered on the Rural Payments Service. If you are not yet registered, call 03000 200 301 to register. Have an SBI number. Have either make legal changes or full permissions for the applicant business on the Rural Payments Service. To fill in the full application form and Appendix spreadsheet, you will need information about you, your business and the project, a breakdown of your requested items, project milestones, evidence of how the project will be funded, such as bank loans, a copy of the planning permission approval for your project, financial information and accounts and evidence of financial viability, for example, your last 3 years' accounts. There are some important documents you should read before you make a full application. We provide details of all available guidance later in this video, but you should definitely read the How to Fill in a Slurry Infrastructure Grant Full Application guidance. All guidance for this grant can be found on gov.uk by searching for Farming Transformation Fund. You should also read the email we sent inviting you to make a full application. It includes helpful advice, information and contact details if you have any queries. To make a full application, you need to fill in and submit by email the following documents. The full application form, which is a Microsoft Word document. This gives us an overview of your project as well as details about you and your business. The application appendix, which is an Excel spreadsheet that provides specific details of your project activity, costs, timeline, and outputs. The design declaration for slurry storage form. This form provides confirmation that the slurry store and reception pit designs meet the Silage, Slurry and Agricultural Fuel Oil England Regulations 2010 SSAFO and BS 5502 Part 50. You should complete Section 1 and your civil or structural engineer should complete Sections 2 and 3. Make sure that you allow yourself enough time to prepare your full application and fill in these documents, as this can take time. What we look for at full application. We will check your eligibility as the applicant and that your application still meets the requirements of the scheme. You will need to provide a declaration that the store will be built in accordance with the relevant regulations. For example, the Water Resources Control of Pollution, Silage, Slurry and Agriculture Fuel Oil, England Regulations 2010, SSAFO. Details of any other relevant regulations can be found in the About the Slurry Infrastructure Grant, Who Can Apply and What It Can Pay For guidance on gov.uk. The design declaration for slurry storage form for you and your engineer to fill in will have been sent to you with your invitation to submit a full application. We will check to make sure that your project is viable by assessing financial impact and viability of the project on your whole business, how you will fund the project until you claim your grant. We will also assess how the project will be delivered within budget and on time, that risks to project delivery have been identified and how they will be mitigated, what might go wrong or not to plan, how likely it is to happen, and what you can do to reduce both the likelihood and impact of it happening. Risks could include changes in costs and the funding for the project. If you submit plans that have changed from the information you provided in the online checker, or for the location and design assessment, RPA will check that your project still meets the scheme requirements. If it doesn't, we might reject your application. Forms and supporting documents. As well as the full application form and application appendix, we ask you to send us information to support what you have said in your application. It's important that you look at what supporting documents you need at an early stage, as it might take you a lot of time to gather the documents together. There's a checklist at the back of the application form which lists what you need to send with your application. There's also information in the How to Fill in a Slurry Infrastructure Grant Full Application guidance. To start with, you need to submit business accounts. We need the latest 3 consecutive years trading accounts for your business so we can understand how it operates and functions. We want full accounts, that is profit and loss account pages, balance sheet, title, and all notes pages. If your business has not been operating for 3 years, send us the accounts that you have available. If you don't have accounts showing at least 12 months of trading, we will need a statement from your accountant showing the likely income and operating expenses. Your latest tax returns or management accounts could help to support your application. You will also need to submit accounts for any linked businesses. Please check the guidance to see if this applies to your business. If your business is part of a group of companies, a parent or subsidiary, please also submit the consolidated group accounts. Permissions and licenses. You must provide a copy of your full planning permission approval document to support your application. We cannot process your application or make a grant offer without it. If you are a tenant, you will need to confirm that you will have a tenancy agreement in place for the duration of the grant funding agreement, 5 years after the date of final payment. You can still apply if your current agreement is shorter than 5 years if you expect it to continue. Financial information. We need to understand how the project is being funded and that you have sufficient funds to undertake the project. We need to see your evidence of match funding so you can show us that if we approve the grant, you can go ahead with the project. The details of the requirements are explained in the How to Fill in a Slurry Infrastructure Grant Full Application guidance on gov.uk. Filling in the full application form and appendix. Please answer all the questions. When we invited you to make a full application, we told you the name of your project sponsor. They can help to guide you and answer any queries you have, so contact them if you need to. However, they cannot help you to complete your full application or check any drafts. Once you have filled in the application form and application appendix, email these along with all supporting documents as attachments to ftf@rpa.gov.uk. Explain your business and project as clearly as possible. The details of your project should be the same as you entered in the online checker and provided for the location and design assessment. Filling in the full application form. When you fill in your full application form, please be as clear as you can about your project. We only know what you tell us on the application form, so you should provide details of your business and explain your proposed project as clearly as possible. Once you have filled in the form, you might find it helpful to ask someone not involved in the project to read it through for you. This will highlight any parts of the form that need a clearer explanation or more detail. Remember to read and complete the declaration section before you send your application. You should also fill in the agent details section if you have used an agent to help you complete your application. Complete the supporting documents checklist to ensure that you send everything we need to process your application. Full application form. Applicant, agent, business and project details. Sections 1 to 3. Please complete these sections to provide details about yourself, your agent, if applicable, and your business. Section 4. Please complete this section with specific details about your project. For example, project name, project start and end dates, location of the project, details of any changes made to your project since you submitted your online application, and if there were changes made, were they reflected in the Slurry store location and design assessment form, the OS grid reference for your project. Full application form, existing and future storage. Please complete sections 5 to 7 to tell us about your existing slurry storage and your future storage requirements. Section 5, existing storage. This section will provide the information we need to understand your existing slurry storage. For example, what type of farm management system you currently use, what type of store you have, does your store have a cover or do you use acidification? Will you be retaining this store as part of your future slurry storage? Section 6, new and expanded storage. This section asks similar questions to those asked about your existing storage, but instead covering your future storage requirements, whether that is building a new store, expanding an existing store, or replacing an existing store that is no longer fit for purpose. Section 7, store design confirmation. This section asks you to confirm that a civil or structural engineer who is a member of a professional body has confirmed that the design of your store will meet BS 5502 Part 50 and the Slurry, Silage and Fuel Oil Regulations England 2010 SSAFO. Full application form, permissions, consents and finances. Please complete sections 8 to 10 to tell us about any relevant permissions, consents and finances. Section 8, permissions and consents. This section includes questions that will provide the information we need to confirm that you have any relevant permissions or consents, including planning permission, to carry out the project. For example, will the project take place on land or in premises that are rented, leased, or tenanted? Details about your planning approval, including the name of the local planning authority that approved your planning application and the planning reference or approval number. Planning permission must be approved before you can make a full application. More information on permissions and consents can be found in the How to Fill in a Slurry Infrastructure Grant Full Application Guidance on gov.uk by searching for the Farming Transformation Fund. Sections 9 and 10. These sections include any financial questions to provide us with the information needed so we can be assured you have the relevant funding in place to complete the project. We need to understand how the proposed project will impact financially on your business and how your business will manage this. Section 9 asks general questions about the project costs, funding, and financial help. For example, total project cost, total grant funding being requested, what private match funding will be used to pay the balance of the project costs. Because the grant is paid in arrears, we'll ask for details of how you'll ensure that there is enough funding to pay the project costs before each grant claim is submitted. Details of any relevant financial issues relating to the business and the underlying business accounts you'll submit. Before completing question 9.1, you will need to fill in the Slurry Details tab of the Appendix spreadsheet to show the expected project costs. Section 10 asks for information about any other grant or public sector funding you may have applied for or received for other slurry storage or equipment, or for this project, including which organisation you applied to, what is the name of the grant fund or scheme, if known? For example, another grant under the Farming Transformation Fund, the Farming Equipment and Technology Fund, Countryside Stewardship, or Farming in Protected Landscapes. Details of the project funded or applied for. The amount of funding applied for. The date of the funding award or expected decision. Full application form, project delivery. Section 11, project delivery. This section asks about the risks that could occur and impact or prevent successful project delivery. Risks are defined as events that are likely or potentially possible. The following common risks are listed in a table. Difficulty with supply of equipment or building materials. Contractor delays or failure to complete works installation. Adverse weather impact on building works. Rising or unforeseen additional costs. Lack of expertise in the business to successfully manage the project delivery. Unexpected changes to the project management team. There is also a space at the end of the table to add any risks not listed. Complete columns A and B with entries of high, medium, or low to show the chance of each risk occurring and the likely impact level should it happen. Then you should explain what mitigation you have in place. For example, what you would do if it did occur, and the steps you would take to continue the project. You should also tell us about the project team managing your project delivery. Who are the people in the team? Who will be responsible for delivering the project, the grant, and the post-project business activity? What are their current roles in your business? How much project delivery experience do they have? Or whether you are bringing in outside expertise. We will not support projects with a significant financial risk to the business, or that have significant delivery risks and a lack of planned mitigation actions. Application Appendix. The Application Appendix is an Excel spreadsheet that captures a variety of facts and figures about your project. It consists of 3 individual tabs: Slurry Details, Project Milestones, and Outputs. You answer some questions by selecting from drop-down options and others by typing your answers in boxes provided. Some information you enter, for example on the Slurry Details tab, will automatically populate the Outputs tab, so you should complete the tabs in the order shown above. When you've filled in each tab, check through the information for correctness and accuracy. For example, check that you haven't missed a 0 off the end of one of your costs and that the claim dates align to your milestone targets. Where relevant, the information you enter in your application appendix should be identical to the information in your application form. Application Appendix, Slurry Details. You first need to enter the project details listed below in the boxes provided: business name, project reference number. At the bottom of this tab, the declarations from the full application form are shown for information purposes only. You do not need to take any action here. You then need to provide details about your current and future storage capacity and any additional items you may be requesting grant funding for example, covers, reception pits, pumps, or pipework. Fill in Table 1, Storage Volumes, with your existing storage capacity in months, 1A on the image below. How much storage is required to achieve 6 months storage in meters cubed, 1B on the image below, and how much future storage capacity in months you will have once the project is complete, 1C on the image below. If you intend to create more than 6 months storage capacity in total, you should enter the total amount that will be created. Fill in Table 2, Storage Details, to confirm how much existing storage you will be taking out of service, how much you will be retaining, and how much will be new storage, 2A on the image below, for each store type you currently have or are going to create. Once you enter this data, the rest of the table will auto-populate. You also need to fill in the relevant boxes to indicate the number of stores and covers you will have, 2B and 2C on the image below. Once fully completed, the table will auto-calculate the 6 months storage requirement and any excess over 6 months. For Table 3, Project Items, the top section, 3A on the image below, will auto-populate based on the information you entered in Table 2. For the remaining sections, 3B to 3H, fill in the total units column to indicate how many covers and ancillary items you require, which may be a number or an amount in meters cubed. The table will then auto-calculate the total grant amount and show it at the bottom of the table. Table 4, Project Funding Breakdown, will calculate the amount of eligible and ineligible capacity as a percentage of the total storage being created. The overall grant amount will be reduced by the amount of ineligible storage costs. Where the total amount of grant requested exceeds the grant maximum, the table will calculate the amount of excess and reduce the eligible costs to cap the grant at $250,000. The table clearly shows the costs and the amount of any restrictions, so you can see how your maximum eligible grant amount has been calculated. Claims will be paid based on the standard cost contribution, or 50% of the actual invoice costs at claim stage, whichever is the lower amount. Table 5, Claim Schedule, is for details about your claims. Decide when you want to make your grant claims. Think about when you will have incurred the cost and paid the invoice in full, so you can prepare and submit your grant claims. You will need to allow time to complete these steps before you make your claim. You can make up to 3 claims during your project or 1 claim at the end. If making multiple claims, they should be submitted at least 3 months apart, but you can submit them early in the claim window if you want. In the first column, enter the percentage of the total expenditure you want to claim for each claim. The final claim must be for 25% or more of the project expenditure. If your final claim total is below 25%, you will need to adjust the figures. Enter the dates you would like to make your claim, and we will check them as part of our assessment of your application. Application Appendix, Project Milestones. Project milestones should show the key steps and stages of your planned project delivery. That is what you'll need to do and when. Fill in the table with the expected project start and completion dates, as well as the remaining key stages and expected completion dates. Make sure that these dates match the dates and targets you enter in the other tabs and on the application form. The milestones could include, for example, ordering of equipment, completion of groundworks, delivery, installation and testing of equipment, attaching pipework, etc. Application Appendix, Outputs. The Outputs table details the results that will be delivered when the project is complete and will be used in a grant funding agreement if offered. For Slurry Infrastructure, these outputs are number of non-serviceable stores taken out of service, type of slurry store constructed, capacity of storage created by the grant in meters cubed, increase in storage capacity, months, total number of months storage capacity, type of cover installed, if applicable, number of slurry store covers added, if applicable, area of slurry stores covered, if applicable. The information in this table is automatically populated using information provided on the Slurry Details tab, but you should check that the results are as you would expect. If not, you need to amend the entries on the Slurry Details tab. Claiming your grant. If you are offered and accept a grant funding agreement, you can make up to 3 claims throughout your project or 1 claim at the end of the project. If making multiple claims, the final claim must be for at least 25% of the total project expenditure. To make a claim, you should have either make legal changes or full permissions for the applicant business on the Rural Payment Service. Claims can only be submitted after work has been carried out and paid for, which must be evidenced with invoices and bank statements. Payments will be made in arrears. When claiming your grant, you will need to provide evidence in writing that the new or expanded store was built to any relevant regulations and standards, signed by you and your civil or structural engineer. Useful reminders. Make sure that you are registered on the RPA's Rural Payments Service and that your information is up to date and correct. You will need to enter your Single Business Identifier, SBI, number on your application form. You must also have the required permissions on rural payments to make and submit the application. The details on rural payments must match exactly with the information in your application. Answer all the questions and complete the forms as fully as you can, telling us about your business and your project. Use the guidance to help you. Get someone not connected with the project to read the application to help to make sure you have explained things clearly. When you are ready to submit your application, send your application form. application appendix, and all required supporting documents to us as email attachments to ftf@rpa.gov.uk. If you have to send more than one email, make sure they are numbered. For example, email 1 of 3. Refer to the How to Fill in a Slurry Infrastructure Grant full application guidance for more information about how to submit your application. Guidance available on gov.uk. The following guidance is available on gov.uk. About the Slurry Infrastructure Grant, who can apply and what it can pay for. How to fill in a Slurry Infrastructure Grant full application. Plan your slurry storage, what you need to know and where to look. Check how applications will be prioritised. Item specification and grant contribution. Contact us. If you have any queries when completing either the slurry store location and design assessment form or your full application, please email us at ftf@rpa.gov.uk, or you can call us on 03000 200 301. You can follow us on our social media channels. Follow us on Twitter by searching @RuralPay. Follow us on Facebook by searching Rural Payments Agency, or go to YouTube and search for Rural Payments Agency. You can also read our blog by going to ruralpayments.blog.gov.uk. We have covered a lot of detailed information. Please remember that everything we have said is in the About the Slurry Infrastructure Grant, who can apply and what it can pay for, and the How to Fill in a Slurry Infrastructure Grant full application guidance. Both documents are available on gov.uk. Thank you for watching, and we hope this will help you with your Farming Transformation Fund Slurry Infrastructure Grant application.